Hello everyone, myself Rushikesh Gore from Nasab Dange College of Engineering and Technology, Ashta. Today I am going to present a presentation on Article 36 and 37 from Constitution of India. Basically, Constitution of India. The Constitution of India is supreme law of India. The document lays down the framework that democrates fundamental political code, structure, procedure, power, and duties of government institutions and set our fundamental rights, directive principles, and the duties of citizens. Fundamental rights of Indian citizens are of seven types: the right to equality, right to freedom, right against exploitation, right to freedom of religion, cultural and educational rights, right to property, and right to constitution remedies. Then we will see the section 36 and 37 apportionment, that is transfer of property act. Apportionment by time, section 36. Basically this section 36 is an apportionment by time, where we can say that it is a distribution of property or it is a transfer of property from one person to another person. The present section relates to appointment of time and provides rules for distribution of the amount of periodical payments coming out of the property as between the transfer and the transfer after the transfer has been effected. Basically, in this 36 section, uh, it is something related to the transfer of properties and the periodical payments related to that property. Also, it is related to the some things that affects on the transfer of properties. This is apparatus section. Let us understand. Apartment can be related with the term portion. It is some portion, or it is some part, or it is some uh, part of any property which deals with the apartment. Apportionment literally means distributions. It is some types of distributions in accordance with proportion. Let us illustrate it related to 36. A house has that he has given on rent to X as for the agreement with the tenant X. The tenant X pays 30,000 as the rent to A on the last day of each month. Sells this house to B on the 11th day of the month. On the 30th day, when the tenant X pays the rent, I will be entitled to the rent of the first 10 days, and transfers will take the rent for the rest 20 days. That is, transfer A will take 10,000 and transfer B 20,000. We have seen the example of the 36, section 36, in which one rent is given to the X with amount of some 30,000 for last day of each month, and for after 11 days there are some 10 to pay that rent. After some 20 first 10 days there is a transfer will be required for rest 20 days. Then the amount required to be paid for this after the will take 10,000 and transfer amount should be 20,000. So this is the section of 36, where appropriate of periodical payments and determination of interest of person entitled. Also, in the absence of contract and local uses of to the country, all rents, annuities, pensions, dividends, and other periodical payments in the nature of income shall, upon the transfer of the interest of a person entity to receive such payments. Also, apart from it, for payable on the day appointment for the payment thereof, such that they can transfer with their payment demands. Let us illustrate once again. This is Article 37. Now, Article 37 is some of the applications of the principle contained in this part. First, we will see. Uh, Actually, in Article 37, some there are in Article 36 there was a single owner for this property. But now in Article 37 there are multiple owners, so multiple owners can share the property for rights of properties. The provision contained in this part shall not be enforceable by any court, but this principle therein laid down and nevertheless fundamental in the governance of the country, and it shall be the duty of the state to apply this principle in making laws. Appointment by estate. Here is a one term, that is appointment by estate. The present section relates to appointment by estate. It provides that if the tenant knows the property is bought by several co-shares, he should not pay the rent to just one of them or to all of them is equal shares, but must pay rent to each of them in proportion to their contribution. In this estate, suppose it has divided some equal rent to each other, and there are some equal shares also for this. So to pay the rent, they require some proportions to their contributions. Suppose basically some provided that no person on whom the burden of the obligation lies shall be answerable to failure or discharge. It being main matters that manner provided by this section unless and until he has had reasonable notice of the severance. Nothing in the section applies to leases or for agriculture purpose unless and until the state government by notifications in the official gazette so directs. Let us understand with these illustrations of this. A leased his house to E at the annual rent of rupees 1 lakh and delivery of one sheep. Afterwards, sell his house to B, C, and D. B having 50 provided 50%, half of the purchase money, and C and D as having 25% each. Having notice to this must pay 50,000 to B, rupees 25,000 to C, and rupees 25,000 to D. Must deliver the sheep according to the joint direction of B, C, and D. We might talk about this example of Article 37, where in E, it is giving 1 lakh rupees annual rent for BCD. There are three customers BCD, where B is having a 50% share, that is 50,000 rupees, and C and D is having 25 and 25,000 among them. So it makes 1 lakh rupees total annual rent. So they are sharing their uh, rent in purchased by the purchase money, where the delivered the sheep according to the joint direction. Same example as we see in the illustrated with related to 37. This is the same examples like above, that some A, B, C sells some, A sells some to the customer B, C, D for house situations in the village, and they run some annual rent of rupees 30, then delivered after fat sheep. Then C and D gets quarter of each, and B is having a 50% of each. That's why rupees 15 to B and 7.50 and 7.50 to C and D. Same example like that. And also with some same cases, each house in the village being bound to provide 10 days labor. This is also great, some example related, real-time example related to article number 36 and 37. Now there is some apportionment to benefit and obligations of severance. When in consequence of a transfer, property is divided and held in several shares, and thereupon the benefits of any obligations related to the property as a whole passes from one to several owners of the property, the corresponding duty shall, in the absence of a contract to the country amongst the owners, be performed in favor of each, such as owners in proportion to the value of his share and the property in the property, provided that the duty can be served and that his severance does not sustainably increase the burden of the obligations, but the duty cannot be served, or if the severance would consistently increase the burden of the obligation, the duty shall be performed from the benefit of such one of the several owners as they shall jointly designate for the purpose. This is the example of appetite of obligation and surveillance, that is leased his house to E with annual increment, like same example that we have discussed with that is the best example of benefit of obligation and severance. Thank you.